Inner Insight Series 0.3 To Rise by Inner Insight versus Adapting to Outer Wrongs. Author Kubilay Bora Öven Beram. Abbreviation to Kubi Bobe. Section 0.3 Guidance to Rise. Theory section. Maybe ancient wisdom is right and spiritual science are wrong. At least today they are in total contrast to each other. There is no, we can have it both. This does not work out with current spiritual science. Accordingly to ancient wisdom, your inner guidance through the heart will let you rise. In contrast to this, current spiritual science claim your flesh makes you already superior, and it can be nourished better through the environment than if your flesh would be inferior, while many claim further that suppression and discrimination wouldn't exist, so the environment would be fair, which would prove that the flesh would be superior. According to ancient wisdom, the focus away from guidance of the heart towards the flesh is wickedness. The focus on the flesh is especially mentioned in the New Testament and in the Gospel of Mary as part of a path that leads away from good guidance and good wisdom. God's guidance would be in the heart, while the focus on the flesh would lead away from the heart. You can actually see consequences of present racism in how people discriminate others because of the kingdom of the flesh that they tried and still try to create as a spiritual dogma. Romans 8, 6-8. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. So then, they that are in the flesh cannot please God. You can read full Romans 8. The description of the kingdom of flesh and foolish wisdom of flesh are main constructs in the Gospel of Mary that need to be overcome. In the Samanaphala Sutta, Digha Nikaya, it is depicted that limitations of the body can be overcome with the mind-body, which is created through the mind. In the Abhidhamma Pitaka, Book 1, it is described as intellection is created through the right ideation, which means as well that the right concepts are created and used, while wisdom is defined with elements that are crucial to form concepts. As already mentioned before, in the Quran Karim, the true guidance is also mentioned to be through the heart. Further, it is written in Surah 2, 269, that wisdom is given to who seeks for it with good intentions. And in Surah 204, it is even described that some will claim to have wisdom and claim that they would follow God, but are actually the worst, as they misuse the belief in God, as well as the wisdom that they gain through Holy Scripture. The connection of wisdom and good pursuit in the Quran is also mentioned in the Digha Nikaya, Sutta 4, Sanatana Sutta. Wisdom purifies conduct, and conduct purifies wisdom. But current spiritual science try to let the carnal mind and the kingdom of flesh be seen as the better truth in comparison to ancient wisdom. Some even call ancient wisdom as stupid or inferior, or ridiculing others who do not follow dogmas of science but believe in God, while they hide that it was underlined in this belief in God to seek to understand and not blindly follow, but with the right pursuit and faith. Read full Proverbs in the Old Testament for more to this. If you combine all those mentioned verses of ancient wisdom into one guidance, how to rise with your own insight, it would be as I compile it here. 1. Get your guidance from your heart to increase your capabilities in life. 2. Seek for wisdom with your heart and to do good to get wisdom. 3. Wisdom is bettered through good conduct and seeking to good. 4. Use your true spiritual mind to get over limitations of flesh. For this, use your imagination and wisdom, also with using or creating the right concepts with the guidance of your heart to also increase your intellect. Don't focus on your flesh and don't put your mind to your flesh, nor define yourself through the flesh. Also not your intellect nor your superiority, or you and your insight would be limited by the flesh. 6. If you define yourself through the body, you are actually inferior as you restrict yourself to a limitation of your body with your mind, and as such you also limit yourself in many more areas that are bound to the body, flesh, like desires, sexuality, wrong views, wrong thoughts, and so on. For the following training section, read the manual. Note at the end of the training section, if you actually are able to help, solve problems, or let something good remain through your efforts with your passion, while you are compassionate and follow good conduct, then you change society for the better, which will influence you and society positively. If positivity is misused in society, also with suppressing unprivileged ones, it is needed to protect good deeds. You can exchange services for resources to pay for expenses if needed. End of section 0.3. Add-on 1. If you adapt to corruption, you do rely on corruption. If you rely on outer wrongs, you rely to upkeep your position by outer wrongs, and to not fall by defying the outer wrong system. If you seek to rise by inner fine insight and inner guidance, you rely on your fine or right inside, and can also go on against the wrong system and upkeep your goods that you did, even if you go against the corrupt system later. So you can do better later after you raised up is nonsense by such, as they have their breaking point, as they're risen up by adapting to the corrupt and are not willing to defy the outer wrong for the inferior pursuit. See Overlap Teaching 7 or Anchors of Pursuit. Add-on 2. The training chosen. If you rise by your own inner insight, you are well trained in such, even by high demands put on you by a wrong environment. If you rise by adapting to wrongs, you are not trained but rely on it to get it for free by antichrist privilege or wrong privilege by adapting to the corruption and repeating as they want you to. As such, this makes you incapable to do good and unskilled. Add-on 3. Wrong alternatives. They will ridicule you if you go the better path by own insight, and at the same time they will praise themselves the wrong adaptation, They will claim you as idealistic and themselves as realistic, but actually, it is only realistic to do the right by seeking and training right and fine. And they then claim that they already are doing it right or fine by whatever they define so and label as such wrongly. They may claim something critical which is not, while being actually just puppets of the same wrongs and providing the same option for others to adapt to the outside wrongs, but by the label of doing well. For example, they do this in think tanks or groups that claim that they help each other to understand while they still adapt to the wrongs and claim to do it right. This can also be seen in parts of psychology when they claim themselves as critical but do the same wrongs, as explained in other sections and parts. On the other side, if you still need to provide for yourself and they sabotage everything, this doesn't exclude to rise also in the system, but while being against them, yes, they're too lazy for that, I am not. I clearly did the work, they did not, especially in psychology. And still, they try to racistically discriminate me and suppress me, and they look down on me for doing the right while they do the wrong. Add-on 4. I didn't know better. You could have known better by better pursuit and better seeking alone, without having gotten the knowledge. See Overlap Teaching 7. But you even got crucial guidance of ancient expressions of wisdom, even if they were distorted or not, and claims such as inferior to your nonsense inferior spiritual sciences. Actually, such people were just cowards. This doesn't mean they were as capable, as they didn't get any crucial insight, like I did with the heritage of wisdom that I want to share.